worm in the dirt wants to see what's out there. It squirmed and arched its way forward. Suddenly, one day, he met another female earthworm. Instinctively, the mother starts to play dead. The palace earthworm looks at her with curiosity. Then he touches her body. He tries to wake her up. The female realizes she's one of her kind, and that she's thinking the same thing. Soon after, they start creating tunnels together. At first, they're all drilling in the same direction. They thought they'd see light when they dug through, but instead, they collide again. The relationship between the two worms is heating up. At this point, they've dug all the way across. Now all they have to do is keep drilling upwards. They're sure there's a way out. The female can't dig anymore. She's trying to keep up with the male, so she takes a short break, and then she keeps digging upwards in parallel. At this point, they've drilled their way through the ground, but there was still no sign of hope. Suddenly, one day, the two worms hit a rock, but it was too hard. It's too hard for them to burrow straight up. The mother looks around. There was a place to eat. He puts it in the center and shares it. The mother worm eats quickly. She took the rest of the food and put it in her belly first. They begin to burp as a result of indigestion. Then the male signals to split up. They each go up the rock. Soon they meet again. But strangely, the soil above is too hard. The rocks are stomped down, but they don't burrow through. The earthworms are panting with exhaustion. Then the female suggested going up the right side, but the male said, it should be easier on the left. The female complained that he had been through so much. He's still stubborn as ever. It's all talk, but she's always doing what he says. This time she'll choose to go her own way. The male earthworm ignored her. He insisted on his own way to the left, and so they went their separate ways, but they believed they would meet again someday, so they tried to speed up and move forward. And then, one day, the male worm breaks through the earth. He tumbles down to a small mound. A snail crawls slowly towards him. The female breaks through the last layer of soil. A gust of wind and sand blows by. She feels the warmth of the sun. She sees a lake in the distance. She marvels at how big the world is, and she's so small. Their backs were facing each other, but their destinies were very different. Mother Earthworm had never seen such a huge bird. She didn't know she was its prey. The toucan looks at it, and then it bites her head off. The female screams, and when the male heard it, he immediately ran to the other end. He watched as the bird ate the struggling female. He was helpless and powerless. He realized how weak they were. Soon the bird finishes digesting. It discharged a pile of feces. The male earthworm roars at him. The toucan targets him again. He's close to being pierced by the beak. The toucan waited a while. When he didn't come out, he left. The male earthworm sees no movement. He peeks out and watches. He makes sure he's safe before he dares to climb out. He comes to the big bird's feces. He knows he'll never see the female again. He cried out. But while he was crying, the big bird in the sky came again. The male earthworm felt something strange. He rushed back to his burrow and fled to the tunnel as fast as he could. He almost became the bird's food. The bird's beak is stuck in the dirt. He pulls it out and looks into the burrow. Then he reaches out and tries to grab him. It doesn't work. He goes to the top of the mound. He pecks at it with his beak and throws it with his feet. He's jumping all over it, and that's how he destroys the tunnels inside. The male earthworm can only hide inside, watching the earth fall. He hides inside without moving. Just then a swarm of insects flew in. The bird thinks about the male earthworm at his feet, and chose a fattier meal. There was no sound from outside the hole. The male earthworm ran to the mouth of the hole. He decided to completely block the outside world. He would bury all the tunnels, to stop the toucan from reappearing. And he learned that the only safe place to hide is in a dark corner. He sealed himself off in the same place he started from. It's a wonderful world out there, but the world out there is also hopeless. He didn't know how long he'd been living like this. The male earthworm decided he couldn't live like this. He decided to head for the other side of the world again. The beautiful, mysterious patterns that they bore are the light of a weak life. Even if you reach the other side of the world with the same despair, he couldn't live in the darkness. He needs to make it through without regrets.